your Penny.com Health Minute. In part 2 of our healthcare terminology, we begin with the phrase out-of-pocket maximum, which is the most money in the form of deductibles, co-pays, and co-insurances you can pay each year, regardless of how much medical care you use. Do you need prescription medication? Well, Penny.com has provided a convenient way for you to look at the plans you are considering to see how much your prescription could cost. Network is also a key term you will continuously see while navigating Penny.com. Your network is compiled of healthcare providers and facilities your insurer has contracted with. Do you want to include your doctor in your plan? No worries. You can use Penny's provider directory to see if your provider is included in your plan. Signing up for healthcare coverage can be intimidating. Luckily, Penny.com has made it easier for all of us. This is the Sarge, and this was your Penny.com Health Minute.
Have you ever been called to go somewhere, a place nobody else wants to go? And what if that place you knew was so full of pain you could feel it in your bones? But what if you went to find children there, and not just any child, but the broken, abandoned, and forgotten? If called, would you go? But what if you knew that you could bring just a little bit of love, a little bit of laughter, and maybe just a little bit of hope? If called, would you go? The kids we serve at Creative Hope Studios, you won't see on a billboard or a flashy TV ad. You see, our kids can't be seen, and that's how they feel, invisible. But we see things differently behind these walls. We see kids just dying to be heard, dying to be seen, and many dying to be loved. This is the work that we're called to do, and where we spend our time. If called, would you go?
Welcome to Reset with Reverend Sherry on TCP Network. Reset your mind, renewal of your mind. So let's talk. What does reset mean? Reset means to change, to adjust, to shift, to transition. It means to transform, correct to a new position. We are Christ-centered, and we inspire, we encourage, and we empower. Today we will be stretched, changed, and transformed. Question: do you find that holiday traditions you once anticipated with great joy now leave you with feelings of uncertainty and anxiety? Well, today we have a guest, and we would like to help you with those feelings and that anxiety of coping with the holidays, how to cope with the holidays. And we want to bring you peace. That's the ultimate goal for today. We have with us Deborah Gonzalez. She MSW and CT, and we'll find out more about her. She is a bilingual bereavement counselor for hospice and community care right here in Lancaster County. So let's spark some discussion and share your thoughts. You know what to do. Thumbs up, come on and clap your hands. Give us an amen. Ask a lot of questions. But before we move into this show, make sure you invite your family, your friends, and others on Facebook. So today, ways to cope during the holidays. Ways to cope during the holidays. No longer will we allow ourselves to suffer in silence. Our scripture today comes out of Matthew 11:28 through 30. Come to me, familiar scripture. Come to me, all who are weary and burdened, and I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon me, you, and learn from me, for I am gentle and humble at heart, and you will find what? Rest for your souls. For my yoke is easy and my burden is light, and you will find rest. And that's what we want, rest during this holiday, and we want peace. So, Father God, in the name of Jesus, teach us, Lord, how to find that peace. Teach us, Lord, how to cast all our burdens to you. Show us how to cope during this holiday and relieve us of this heaviness called grief and sorrow and loss, Father God. In the name of Jesus, teach us that your word is powerful, Lord God. So we thank you for today. Our goal again is to encourage, inspire, and empower. And who to empower? Empower ourselves, and we're going to also learn how to empower others around us, even if you never have gone through this journey of grief. There's something that you could learn that you could help somebody along the way. So let's talk, let's ask questions, the who, the what, the when, and why. Before I introduce Deborah, she was born in New York City and later moved with her family to Puerto Rico, where she obtained a bachelor's degree in social work from Universidad Interamericana in Puerto Rico. Deborah returned to the U.S. in 2002 and obtained a master's degree from Widener University in social work. She specialized in child welfare. She is bilingual bereavement counselor with the Pathway Center for Grief and Loss here in Lancaster County in Mount Joy. She also co-chairs the Latino Resource Team. Deborah Gonzalez became certified as a thanatologist. And you're like, what? A thanatologist. Okay, we're going to talk about that. Through the Association for Death Education and Counseling, ADEC. She has developed several trainings about grief and loss within the Latino community. She has presented on a national level conference. Her favorite part of her job is facilitating the grief support group. She feels honored to bear witness to the difficult stories of loss and grief. Yet, she's always amazed by the resiliency she sees as well. She enjoys the unique opportunity to work closely with the Latino community. She provides end-of-life education to the community at large and support to hospice patients, family, and friends. Welcome, Deborah Gonzalez. Thank you, thank you. Thank you so much for coming on Reset here at TCP Network. You have a wealth of information, and we want to get started and ask you all these different things. So the first thing is, tell us what you do.
Yeah, thank you, Sherry, for the invitation.
You're welcome.
So yeah, like you had said, for the past 9 years, I had been working as a bilingual bereavement counselor for the Pathway Center for Grief and Loss, meaning that I had been working with those that are grieving the loss of a loved one, their parents, their spouses, their children, either because of illness or sudden death or a prolonged illness. So yeah, we had been doing a hard job in these past years, and this past year obviously wasn't an exception.
Yeah. And I believe that, especially with COVID, having a lot of deaths, sudden death.
Yes.
It's one thing to anticipate death, but this sudden death with COVID, that's another layer of loss. And
You're absolutely correct.
Yeah.
2020 brought us a different layer of grief. For those, we were grieving our normal days, our family, friends, everything that we did. But for those that are grieving, they lost their natural resources, their churches, their friends, their family.
Yes.
They couldn't gather
Yes.
to grieve with them, and that is essential in the grieving. We do that communal.
Yes.
As a community, we all come
Yes.
together.
Yes.
So it was very, very hard.
Yes.
2020 was a hard year.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah, I believe that.
Yeah.
A very hard year. We had to reset.
Yes.
We had to reset, we had to adjust, we had to find new ways of having church coming together to assembly together through Zoom, through Facebook, through YouTube. Yes, new ways of communicating. Social distance, what was that?
What was that
We have to
before?
stay away. What, we can't hug each other? Oh my goodness. We were fearful.
Yes.
Even though God, doesn't give us the spirit of fear, but we didn't know
So we
in the
grieved
beginning.
and mourned
Yes.
everything that was normal to
Yes.
us. Even that you did it intentional or not, we were all grieving.
Yes.
Yes. So
Yes.
definitely. So this year has been a little bit, a lot of people have been reaching out for our services also because of the same.
Yes.
So people not only die because of COVID, but because of COVID, not accessing their treatments or the doctors or whatever they needed at the time. So we are seeing also a different wave of people that had died.
Yes.
So
Wow.
we are doing our grief counseling,
Yes.
and we are seeing our numbers going up and people reaching out.
Okay. That's good. That's why we are here, to let the community know about you. Unfortunately, I found out about you, not you in particular, about the organization that you work for because of my late husband. So how does one get referred to you or find out about you?
So you just did the referral, right?
Okay.
You just put it out there. I am a person that have access for services, and let me tell you about it, right? So that is like our first, because you already went through the system, right? Through our process. So you understand what we did, how we support you. So you spoke about it, right? So that's the best way, mouth to mouth, right? So that word that goes out. Then other professionals as well understand that yet they could do certain things, but there are some limitations of what they do. So they refer them to us. Usually they provide the information to that person and the person contact us. That is important because the person needs to be ready. So even if you have a friend or relative or anyone that you think they might be ready, you might call us. We can help you through that process because we want you also to feel supported.
Yeah.
So that way you could get the information out. But usually the person that has the need really has to say, you know what, I need to call them.
I need to call them. And that wasn't easy to call you. I met you at a bereavement support group. I did not want to do that,
No.
but I knew that my body was not feeling good. And it was actually a good experience. I was there with other people that were going through the same thing, that lost a loved one. We learned a lot of terminology. We watched a video. So I understood some of my grief. I could at least identify and put a label to it. Oh, that's what I'm feeling. This is what they were talking about. I'm not only going through this, but other people are going through it also. So explain to me your support sessions about grief and loss within the Latino community and the larger community.
So just what you had said, right? So you came into our sessions and you felt welcome and you felt that we could provide the support that you needed. So that is important. So when I do my relationships with my Latino community, right, that's what I do. I provide the information, the education, not because that's going to happen immediately or it's going to happen tomorrow, we don't know, right? But usually the way that I approach this is, you know what, it's good for you to have the information for a friend, for a loved one, right?
Yes.
And then ultimately for themselves as
Yes.
well, right?
Yes.
But that gives them a little bit of comfort because these are not topics or themes that we are just talking on daily basis, right? This is
Right.
not something that we say, oh, let's talk about end of life, right?
Right,
So how many
right.
people sign for that? So it's even hard sometimes to get the message.
Yes.
So the Latino community has some kind of resistance because we gather with our family, we grieve with our family, with our neighbors, we're at church. But what 2020 showed us is that we didn't have any of those
Right.
available to us. And we did grief counselor through the phone. You know, we
Wow.
contact people and we allow them to vent and to talk and to support and normalize their grief, even it might not seem normal to any.
Yeah.
But
How do
for
you
us-
do that? How do you normalize grief?
Well, normalizing grief is listening to you, right? So if I say we all cry, yes, we all cry. We all love them, yes, we all love them. You know, things that really are going to resonate with all us. You know, we miss them in the morning, we miss them in the afternoon.
Yes.
I understand why you can't sleep
Mm-hmm.
or you can't eat.
Yes.
Or how hard it can be to cook for one.
Yes.
Right? When
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
All these
yeah.
things. So all these things helps me to normalize your grief.
Okay.
Why? Because this happens to other people. It might not seem normal to you, and you might feel like you're the only one grieving, but you're not.
Right.
And then when you come into group, it's that you realize, oh, these other people are just in the same boat, right?
Yeah.
We are grieving, we are mourning, we are having a hard time.
Yeah.
So it's not just me. So
Yeah.
all these things helps us to normalize your grief and for you to understand that this is normal, even that doesn't feel normal to you.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's good. That's good. And when you said normal, when you look at the traditions and decide which ones will continue this year and which ones would not, that's your checklist on. You have right here,
Yeah.
coping with the holidays.
Mhm.
That since the holidays are upon us,
Yeah.
next week is
Next
is
week.
Thanksgiving, and then the following month is
Mm-hmm.
Christmas. So, explain that. Look at the traditions and decide which ones you will continue this year and which ones you will change. What you're doing is giving
A choice.
a choice,
Yes.
and you're
Yes.
empowering
That's it.
the grieved person
Mhm.
that they have a choice.
Yes.
Go ahead.
So the whole thing about this is I have to put the tree, I have to send the cards, I have to cook, I have to welcome people, that I have to. So all the things that you feel that you have to. So I'm here to tell you that you don't have to, right?
Yes.
That you could take a break, that you could break things apart, right? You may send cards, but you don't have to buy gift. Or you want to just mail things, so you just mail gift cards. You may want to gather with one member of the family, but may not be with everybody.
Yes.
You know, so you may put a blue Christmas tree, a little one. Blue is because of grief, right? So you can have a
Oh,
little blue
wow.
Christmas tree.
Okay.
You know, so during your preparation for your holidays, give yourself permission to do things and not do others.
Okay.
You know, so that way you feel that you're still participating, but you don't have to do everything that we used to or that we
Yeah.
think we have to.
Too. That we have
Okay.
a choice.
You have a choice.
We have a choice.
And, you know, your children, your family, your friends are going to know, and they are going to be accommodating as well. And sometimes we want to do everything because we want them to be normal, but it's
Right.
not normal.
It's not.
It is not.
No.
And for us to say, I want everything to be normal, it's not normal because that person that you loved and meant a lot in your family is
Yeah.
not there.
Yeah. I was there, but I wasn't.
Mhm.
I almost felt like I was holding my breath until the end of the day. Not that I did not enjoy being around family. I loved being around family,
Yeah.
but I was grieving.
Yes.
Do I have to go on, as you were say, as always, and you said no, that we have a choice. So would it still be considered the holiday if I have all these different choices and change my family traditions?
Well, it is about changing family traditions because
Okay.
they're not going to be the way that they were.
Okay.
Everything that you did before is not going to be theirs. It will be, but in a different way.
In a
Because
different
now
way.
we are doing new memories. You know, so let me give you an example. So
Okay.
I had a participant in group, and she was so concerned about Thanksgiving. And, you know, her anxiety levels were high, and
Yeah.
her expectations were high, and she wanted to have everything perfect. But the one thing that really was bothering her was that her children were not talking about their dad. They were not mentioning his name. They were not saying anything. So that was painful to her. And I know that they were doing it, not to make her cry, not to make her upset, right?
Yeah.
So they were trying like to protect her, but for her it was very hard to not hear about him, especially in the holidays. So one of the things that we discussed was that during Thanksgiving, she was going to place a plate with a little candle on the plate.
Okay.
And then that will hold his space.
Okay.
So, right? So she was the first one to talk about him, right? And then the other thing that she did to allow that conversation was that she gave everybody like post-its, like little post-it.
Yeah.
So they could write down like really fun memory that they had about the dad or the grandpa, or papa,
yeah.
whatever they want to call it, right? So what she did was to integrate him in that
I
event,
like that. I like
right?
that.
So it wasn't excluded. It wasn't, we can't talk about it because she's going to cry. She allowed it. She opened up the door for that
Okay.
and gave others permission then to have that conversation. But she also said that even if she cried, that it was okay.
That it was okay.
That it was okay.
Okay.
So that communication, that is essential, right? So that's why we are going to be talking to our loved ones and saying, this is what I want to do, or I'm not going to do this. And that piece of communication is going to be important.
Yeah.
And also, as parents, we also model for our children, even if they're adults. But the majority of our children have not had a big loss,
Right.
right? So we are modeling for them also that it's okay for me to be sad, that it's okay for me not to do everything that I used to do, because times have changed.
Yes.
So it's
yes.
also to allow that space.
Yeah, and it has here ways to cope during the holidays. Listen to your body. Take time to rest, refresh, and renew.
Yes.
Listening to your body.
And we don't.
Yes,
We
we don't.
don't.
We don't
Sometimes
because
we don't
we
even
go on
breathe.
and on. Right.
We don't breathe.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
So we are breathing shallow. When I said to people, you're not breathing, they look at me, well, I would have been dead. But that's not the point.
Yeah, you're talking about taking those deep breaths
breath.
in and deep breath out.
They're going to help you to
Yes.
soothe you. They're going to help you to calm you down. You know, breathing is something that is incredibly important when you're grieving, because
Yes.
you feel your chest like you can't, like there's no inch more. Like it's
Yes.
just so tight.
Yeah.
Right? And so a good breathing exercise can help you even to help you sleep and soothe you
Wow.
down. So all these things are important. You know, we call sleeping hygiene is also important. Turn off the light, turn off your cell phone. Do not allow other distractions, you know, and trying to create a peaceful environment
A
for you
peaceful
to sleep.
environment.
Because
Yes.
that is, I think, the number one thing that people call me is thinking that they're going crazy. That's really
Okay.
the number one call that I receive because of all these feelings that they're going through. And then the number two complaint is that they're not sleeping.
They're
They're
not sleeping
at all.
Yeah.
And they're not sleeping for different reasons. But, you know, if you were a caregiver and you were there 24/7, so
Yeah.
you're not going to sleep because you were there 24/7.
Right.
So your body needs to adjust again. You know, and medications and all these kind of things that caregivers do throughout the night. So then when everything stops, because everything stops, we have to acknowledge that pressure of caregiving and doing everything stops. And then that's where you realize that your grief is in as
Yes.
well.
Yes.
And that's where you need to take care of yourself. And that's what is important through all this. You won't make it if you don't take care of yourself.
If
And
you
that
don't
is
take it.
important.
Say that again, please.
You won't make
make
it if you don't take
Take-
care of yourself.
You won't make it if you don't take care of yourself.
Nobody else is going to do that. Only
Right.
you can do that.
Right.
You know, we are here to help you through the process. We're not going to take the pain away, but we're going to help you understand, you know, why is it that you're feeling that way, and then the things that you could do. In group, we find, it's interesting because we find others that are grieving and their stories soothe us as well.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Because even if you don't want them to be in pain, but you know that you're not the only one in
The
pain.
pain. Yeah.
And that makes a difference.
Yeah, that you're sharing something, because that's what I noticed, that when I told my story, that there were other people that had stories. We didn't all have the same loved ones that passed away.
Yes.
We had different loved ones that passed away. So everybody's story, yeah, it was a support. It was a support. So Listen to your body, take time to rest, refresh, and renew. If your energy, it says here, if your energy is low and your desire is little for a large family social gathering, draw the line. Say no.
Yeah.
Rent a good video, read a good book, pamper yourself. You want to expound on it? Pamper yourself.
Yes.
Say no.
Say no, right? We don't say no. We don't know what's pampering ourselves, and people think it's just a massage and manicure and pedicure, and it's not that. Okay. Pampering ourselves can be being in our favorite PJs, our jammies.
Yes.
Right? Sitting
Yes.
down with our favorite cup of tea or chocolate or coffee, whatever suits you. Have a nice book if you feel that you can concentrate. And if you can't, just put some music.
Yeah.
Allow this to be, we know that there's a lot of triggers. And, so throughout the day, you're going to encounter them. And you're going to feel exhausted because
Yeah.
grief is a lot of work.
Yeah.
Okay? It's emotional, physical, mentally, spiritual. So it affects you in all parts and directions.
Yes.
So when people think that, oh, you just crying, oh, you don't want to talk to people,
Yeah.
they want to minimize it because they feel comfortable that way, and
Yeah.
they're trying to cheer you up,
Yes.
and they're trying to move you along the way.
They mean well.
They
mean well.
But, these things, and we all do this.
Yes, we
until
do.
we go through it.
And then we get that aha
Yeah.
moments like, oh, I understand.
Yes.
I do understand. I like the fact that
Yes.
you said triggers. We get
Yes.
triggers. There will be a lot of triggers when all of the family members come together.
Yes.
And would you suggest they discuss it?
Well, there are things that you might not even know that they're triggers.
Okay.
Because I had people that go to the supermarket and they were buying things, and all of a sudden they went into the aisle of one particular thing that they used to take to their loved ones, right?
Yes,
And now all of a
yes.
sudden you don't have to buy that.
Right.
Right? And then you're frozen there in the supermarket in
Yeah,
front of the
yeah.
aisle. What do? I
Yeah.
have people that run out of the supermarket because they're just crying and they can't keep it together, and the others that they just go to the bathroom and trying to compose themselves, right? But
Yeah.
these are things that we can encounter in any place.
Yes.
In church, in a restaurant, in a place that you used to go.
Yeah.
So it's anything and everything that you used to do, the two of you together.
Yeah.
So now there are going to be triggers because that person is not there.
Yeah.
And you're going to be reminded.
And you're-
so even the ice cream in your favorite place
Yes.
could be a trigger.
Yeah, and the other thing is too. For me, my trigger was music,
Music.
because
Yes.
when we got together as a family, my late husband and I, we like oldies.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my goodness, those oldies were killing me,
Yes.
but I could not release my tears because I was surrounded
Yes.
with people and didn't want
Yes.
attention. But so, yeah.
Yeah. So
I
it's
suffered
hard.
in silence.
Exactly.
That's what we talked
Precisely.
about earlier. Not to suffer in silence. To talk to somebody. Maybe if I would have talked to a family member and say, I may come for an hour or two or less than that,
Yes.
and then I'm going to leave because I'm still going through my
Yeah.
grief journey. We need to talk to
So
one
let
another.
me tell you why we don't do that. We don't do that because we want to be strong.
Oh, tell me about
Okay?
it. Yes, tell me.
That's the
Yes,
whole thing.
yes.
We want to be strong. So let's talk about being strong.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
So when you think about being strong, you think about, I'm going to be there. I'm going to do everything. I'm going to suck it up. It doesn't matter what's going
Yes.
to happen. Nothing is going to affect me. Well, if you had a relationship with your husband for 20, 30, 40, 50 years, 60 years, so how can that happen?
Yeah.
Now I'm going to do everything. Everything is going to be fine.
Yeah.
Okay? Or if you lost your mom or your dad, I am going to be 50 years old. So that is how long my relationship has been with my parents. One of the most intimate relationships that I will ever have with my mom, like thinking that we were born from them.
Right.
There's nothing more intimate than that.
Right.
And now all of a sudden I'm going to be fine?
Right.
That doesn't make any
Right.
sense.
Right.
Okay? So
It
let's think
doesn't.
about that
It
again,
doesn't, yeah.
Right? So when we are thinking about being strong, it's being present for myself and my grief. To talk to my family member and say, thank you for the invite, but I'm not going to make it.
Okay.
You know, being strong means that I have to let go of little things that I have to do this year because I don't feel is right for me right now. Whatever little things may be those for you. Make adjustments. That is being strong, thinking about your needs and saying, I need to do this for me and I'm going to do this for my family, but I can't do it all.
Right.
Okay? That's how being strong is. Then now you're making other different choices because you're learning how to take care of yourself. And that is the important piece.
Yes, take care of yourself.
Yeah.
And taking care of yourself is, like you said, is not necessarily going to get a mani pedicure or a massage, but just vegging out on, I don't know, Lifetime, whatever,
Yeah,
or
whatever.
sports or whatever.
You know,
yeah.
Whenever the weather is available, you go
Yeah.
out and, you know, so it's taking the time to be present.
Right.
We don't want to be present because it's painful.
Right.
So that's why people sleep away.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Because they don't want to be present for their pain. But that doesn't mean that it's going to go away.
Right.
But that means it's going to be a delay, and it's always
A
going to be there.
delay.
So we have to deal with our own grief. We don't want our grief to linger because then it's going to get complicated.
Yeah.
You know, even if you don't want to. So the other thing that I want to mention here, and I think it is important, is about family dynamics. Because when I talk about grief, I said to people all the time, your grief is going to be based on the relationship that you had. Either it's good or bad, you love them or hate them, it doesn't matter, okay? That is how you're going to grieve. So if you decide to ignore that and put it aside, you may do that, but that's not going to go away. Years going to come past, and there are going to be other things, and then all of that is going to come out as a tsunami, and that's not going to be good.
Wow.
So it is hard to deal with all this during Christmas and other holidays that we have. So reach out, you know, have a conversation with a friend, with a pastor, with a grief counselor, with your therapist. Talk about these things and help, you know, tell them to help you normalize all this. Find the ways to cope. You know, if it doesn't work for me to do 20 cards, so can I send emails? You know, can I just send a
Yeah.
bunch of an email
I
to
send a
everybody?
text?
Yeah, that's it. Or a text, right? And say,
Yeah.
hey, you know, I'm not there present, but I'll be thinking of you. You know, and that's it. You know, I think that we had to give permission to ourselves, you know, also to recognize that it's okay.
It's, I like that,
Change is
that
okay.
give permission to ourselves that it's okay. But
Yeah.
there are so many cultural
Oh, yeah, I
traditions
know.
that we have
Yes.
of breaking through,
Yes.
getting God to deliver us from that. These cultural traditions that said, you know, you're strong, you're a super person, suck it up.
Yeah.
Those type of things that we continue to say and have heard over time, and giving ourselves permission, taking care of ourselves, that we have choices,
Yes.
make adjustments, talk to a family member, let them know what you're going through, or somebody else, that we could change our traditions. If we always did it this certain way, that it's okay to change it. Wow, that's major.
I know it is, Mayor. So when people leave the office, it's interesting because they have a different attitude towards their grief. So this is not fun. We have to recognize that. It doesn't matter. It is hard. It is painful. You miss them. You feel like you're not going to make it.
Yeah.
That's how you feel, right?
Yeah.
But then as time goes by, the intensity of that pain changes.
Yeah.
And that is important because that is your marker, your intensity, right? So if you think about the first moment that you knew that that person died, that is as intense as it's going to get. And then as you go apart and days go by, that intensity lessens. There are going to be what we call waves or surge, right? So there's days like now in the holidays
Yeah.
and other special days that you're going to feel that grief coming up again, because these are days that we spend with our family.
Yeah.
So it's going to be a constant reminder that they're not going to be there, right? So pick and choose where you want to go.
Yeah.
Like, don't go to the supermarket if you know the music, Christmas music is going to be
It's
a
going
trigger,
to, yes,
right?
yeah.
Order online and pick up. Right? You know, like,
We have choices.
you have choices now
Wow.
that we didn't
have before,
right?
yes.
So when people ask you, do you need help? Think about the help
We
that
could
you
say
need. We
yes.
could say yes. And
Yes.
that doesn't mean that
Let me
you're
try that.
weak or that
Yes.
you're taking or that you're want attention from others. That doesn't mean any of that. That means that I have a pile of leaf outside and I have not have the energy to go and clean it.
Yes.
Because that is not in my first two choices probably for the day, other than trying to drink my coffee and survive the day, right? So that's what
Just
that
getting
means.
up.
Just getting up.
Just getting up and
You
maybe
know?
going to work.
And be able to work. Yes.
Yes.
And for some people, working can be, a normal part of their life, kind of like a bubble, and they enjoy that. But coming back to home, you still have your own reality.
Yes.
So you still have to deal with these on a daily basis.
Yeah. One of the other things, excuse me, I guess I'm catching a cold. Adopt a needy family for the holidays. Tell
What?
us more about that. Ways to cope during the holidays. Adopt a needy family for the holidays.
Well, sometimes taking the attention out of ourselves, right? And you feel like you're doing a good deed. So there's a lot of places that you can find families in need. I used to work in children and youth. I did that for 7 years. And we had families in the community that want to adopt other families
Okay.
and ask from us to identify them. And also, they will say what was their budget or whatever it was, but we will make that exchange, right?
Okay.
So that is a way that you can find a family need. There's a lot of elders
Okay.
around Lancaster that they might need, groceries, that they might need, something for Christmas because
Yes.
probably they don't have that from their
Yeah.
own family for different reasons. So finding what makes sense for you and for your family as well.
Right.
When you give to others, not only you take the
Yeah.
attention away, but you feel that you're doing something good for others and that you feel blessed and grateful for what you had
Yes.
and that you're sharing that, and that also fulfills you in different ways.
Yeah, I like that. Give
Yeah.
to others. I also like this, is you said, visit a special place that brings you warm memories.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, we relate food with places, music with places.
Yeah.
So what that means is if you used to, go to a place, hike, or an event, right? And you find that could be helpful to you, and you find that could be a place that you could rejoice of your own memories. So you go and do something like that for yourself as well. I had a guy that they got married for Christmas, and they did it on the beach. So
Wow.
he went back the year after she died, and he went to the beach. They got married, and he spent his day there.
Okay.
Because that's how he felt that he was going to honor her.
Right.
Right. So you do things that make sense to you.
To you.
Right.
You
That
do
are your
things that make
connection.
sense to
Yes.
you. Yes, yes.
So Yeah.
Somebody on here, if I could get it, the church has taught us that to be absent from the body is to be present with God. In our minds, it makes a lot of sense. However, our human self hurts.
of course.
Yeah.
And you could be in touch with God, and God can give you peace. But at the same time, as human, the pain's still there.
It is.
Right?
It is still there.
Even though you have your faith and your hope that this should pass, but you feel the pain on a daily basis.
Right.
So we had to be realistic with that as well. Because otherwise you're going to feel that you're failing in your faith as well. And we don't want that.
Right.
We want your faith to be there for you to inform your grief, like you said, but also to lift you. And then if you set yourself for failure, that's not a good thing.
Right.
Okay? So recognize that we are in pain as human beings, but we are going to be lifted because of our faith.
Yes. Yeah. And ways to cope, to help grieving children cope with the holidays. When it says when you and your family are struggling to adjust to the emptiness, that we should also allow the children to talk because they too grieve. That's
Yes.
something that we forget, that the little people are grieving also. Want to expound on that?
Not only we forget, we don't allow it. Okay.
What do you mean by that?
Because there are families that don't even take their children to the funerals. Okay, so they skip that altogether. We don't want nobody to be in pain. We don't want them to be sad. We don't want them to cry, right? We don't want any of
Yes,
that.
we don't want any of
But
that.
however, life is life, and you are alive, and you know that we all know that we're gonna die. So there's no getting away from that. And I say to people, that is 100% proven. Okay, so there's no escape. So we have to be teachers. We have to model for them too.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, it's painful for me that my mom died, which is your grandma. But we're going to go and do this together as a family.
Yes.
Right? We're going to cry. We're going to laugh. We're going to cry and we laugh. And that's how it goes. But we can do this together. So we not only being vulnerable and showing them that that's fine, but they will learn from that. Because one day they will also grieve us. Right? So we have to
Yes.
give them the tool for them to know
Because
how to
it's
do
going to
that.
go full
It
circle.
is a full circle.
It
Yes.
is. Yeah. Wow. It also says if parents are grieving over the loss of a child, it is important that they reassure the remaining children that the holidays will still be celebrated and that they are all loved as much as the child who died.
Yeah.
That's
It
a
is
lot.
heavy, and we do have a pediatric component in hospice.
Okay.
Yes.
Good.
So we work with children. So yes, and we have a grief counselor that works directly with those that are grieving the loss of a child. So yeah, so we have been doing that for years, but the community don't speak about those losses either.
Yeah.
They don't speak about miscarriages. They don't speak about stillborns. They don't speak about children that are born and then they die within days, or it is sad altogether. But that is part of life as well.
Yeah.
So in all this, we have to normalize death, and I think that part of our culture are making that harder to do. We are all about being young. We all about staying young and healthy, and so in all these medications that we take and all these kind of things. So let me tell you a little bit about that. So what we are doing is being treated for an illness, whatever that is, that there's no cure for it. Is it high blood pressure? Is it cholesterol? Is whatever that is. Diabetes, we do diets, we do exercise, we control the illness, right? But we don't think about that. And then when we think and visit our doctors, right? In their doors it says practice of medicine. Okay, so they practice on daily basis with all of us because they might have some doses, but it's different treatment for each of us. So it is a practice on daily time and on daily basis. So what that means is even that we are treated with all these chronic illnesses, at one point we will die, right? And that is the important thing of all this. Recognizing our own mortality help us to talk about death and dying. But if we don't take the time to think about when I'm going to die, if I have a will, if I have direct advance instructions, right? And all these things, it put them in place for my family, for myself. So then talking about death and dying is the most horrible thing that can happen because you're not prepared.
We're not prepared.
Okay? So we have to be prepared. And the process of grief also, as much as prepared you are, it doesn't mean that you are going to grieve less. But what's going to happen is instead of a family that now has to figure it out, the funeral cost, you already had that plan and price paid already. So it's a big difference between the two families that probably they're scraping out thousands of dollars now in the middle of this loss, right? And that's what we saw with COVID in 2020. We saw families that never will be prepared because everybody died in different ages.
Right.
So it was not something that we thought it could have happened.
Right.
But it did happen.
Yeah.
And we saw the crisis around us, and we felt it as well. So we need to be prepared. We need to talk to our families. We need to let them know what are the things that I like or want or need from them we have to empower them to be our lawyers, our advocates, and if not, to seek for the help if needed. So all these things, as a mom, I want my children to understand that this is part of our life.
Wow.
And that we need to do these things.
Yeah. So we need to talk with our
children
family.
and our spouses.
We
our
need to
sister, brothers.
Because you said it a couple
Yes.
times. Normalize
Yes.
death.
Yes.
Like we all know that we're going to die.
Exactly, but that
But
happens to other people.
normalizing
Like,
it, right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Also, helping grieving to help a friend during the holidays.
So if you're grieving, right? So I'm not gonna be your cheerleader. Okay, that's
Right.
not what I'm doing.
Right.
I am gonna be here present for you, and I'm gonna say, Sherry, I have no idea what you're going through
Yes.
because I haven't lost a husband,
Right.
right? So I have no idea how it is, but I'm here to listen. Tell me, how can I help you, right?
Yeah.
And you may say, no, I don't need no help right now.
Right.
But then down the line, I will say that again. Do you need me to run some errands? Do you
Yes.
need me to pick up, or, whatever you need, something. It's even the leads, like I said, it's something. I had a friend that she left the house, and when she came back, everything was clean in the porch, and they had a nice decor for
Right.
Christmas, because another friend did that for her.
Right.
Right? But these are little things that if you feel comfortable and you have that close relationship with that friend,
Yes.
probably that's something that you could do and cheer them up,
Okay.
right? While they feel that they're struggling because they can't even put the lights out, right?
Right.
So, those are the little things that make a difference in
Wow.
people's life. Let me just do a dinner and take it to you.
Yeah.
So let me just be present.
Yes.
Let's just take a tea and,
Yeah.
and sip together. So it's just that.
Yeah.
You can't fix it. You can't make it better.
Right.
You get so understanding that you can't do anything, only be present is the most important gift that you could give to others.
Yeah.
Because sometimes they don't have no one that they can listen. And they need to talk about it over and over and over. And you're going to hear everything over and
And over again.
But that is how we make sense of our losses.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah, I took a class in seminary on contemplative prayer. It was culturally different when you said just be present. I was like, what are they
I
talking
know.
about? Be
Yeah.
present, because culturally we're present, but we're all up in your face.
Yes, and
what do you
talking.
and talking? What do you need? I can do this for you. But you were talking at
Yes.
in this class.
Yes.
Being present
Yes.
is just like being silent.
In
It's like in
silence.
chaplaincy,
Yes.
you walk in, you introduce yourself,
Yes.
and you go according
Yes.
to what they want. If they
Yes.
just want you to sit there, you just sit there.
Yeah.
So this is culturally a shift.
I know. I know for me
It's
too.
different.
It is different.
Yes.
Yes.
So I'm okay. So when you say be there, I do understand that being present, or if you see like with the leaves, just go and clean up the leaves,
Yeah.
or bring
Yeah.
dinner, or help them, do something, because you know that in previous years their house was always, with lights and everything. You could do something
Yes.
for them. Just
Yes.
be there, be present, be observant, actively listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, and please do not interject your story.
Wow.
Breathe.
Yes.
Breathe there, right? Because we all go, let me tell you
Yeah,
how
I know,
bad
I'm
was
bad
it.
at that. I know.
Just right there,
I
right?
know.
Let me tell you
Yeah.
how bad was it, right?
Yeah.
Just right there.
Yeah.
Please don't do that.
Yes.
Okay? Don't do that. Keep
Okay.
it to yourself.
Yeah.
Why? Because grief is different for all of us.
Yes.
So probably what worked for you doesn't work for me, and it's just different. You may have a good family that is really supportive, while I'm here by myself.
Yeah.
I don't have no one.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter how good you tell me that you had it with your family if I can't access that support, you see?
Right.
So these are things that Yes, we want to comfort them, and we
Yes.
want to find ways that it's not so bad, but it is.
Yeah.
It's bad to them.
Yes.
And you can't take that away because your story was horrible. And I'm sorry if your
Yeah.
story was horrible, but please do not share
Yes.
if it's not the appropriate time. And these are things that cultural we need to learn.
Yes.
Okay?
Yes.
We do, because the Latino community is all about sharing anything and everything.
Yes.
Okay. and nothing is, harder or terrible. Just
Yes.
my story. And this is not about you. This grief is not about you. If you're a friend that could remain quiet and it could be there and could be an asset to that person and be supportive and follow, right? Because sometimes you have to follow them, even if that's not what you want to do, or even that's not what you thought that you needed to do,
Yes.
right? But even saying, I hear you, I hear how complicated things are, probably you need to talk to somebody else.
Yes. Yes.
Okay? Because it's not you, probably the person that they need.
Right.
And sometimes they think that by talking with someone, everything's going to be fine, but there's other instances that things are more complicated.
Yeah.
And they might need to really talk to someone,
Yeah.
a pastor, a counselor, a therapist,
Yes.
and there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Not everybody died peacefully,
Right.
okay?
Right.
Not everybody was in their dreams or at their bed when
Right.
these things happen. And there's a survey that 95% of all Americans want to die in their bed, but that doesn't happen.
Right.
They die in the hospitals and they die in other incidents,
Right.
right? And they are not the best or the
They
most
may die
beautiful.
violently.
Yes,
Also.
in different ways, right?
So that's
So
yeah.
that brings other layers into that.
Yes.
So loss of a child, due to drugs. And we know that because this is the year where we had the most overdoses. Okay,
Yes.
and we are talking about young people and all ages in reality. And it doesn't matter is a female, male,
Right.
Part of my support in the community is with a pastor that he works with homelessness and drug and alcohol. And in 2019, he did almost 20 plus funerals. So that is unheard for any pastor to do that, right? But here in Lancaster, they were dying because of overdoses. So all these complicated losses
Yeah.
also creates a complicated grief.
Yeah.
Right? Because there are other issues and family dynamics and other things that may not look like everybody else grieves.
Right.
Right? So then please access the services. There's nothing wrong for you to going to a therapist
Right.
and talking about the trauma that your family has had
Right.
for years and how you have tried to survive and teach your children and all these kind of things. But if we don't break that cycle of trauma,
Yes.
our kids, our grandchildren will continue to
Yes.
suffer. So there's no need. If God gave knowledge to people, they gave them skills.
Yes.
So that's why there
Yeah.
are doctors and therapists
Right.
and counselors and pastors
Right.
and many different people in different places just to offer the help that you need.
Right.
So don't think that you have to be strong and do this all by
Right.
yourself.
Right. Give yourself permission.
Mm-hmm.
You have be patient, be honest, be sensitive to verbal as well as nonverbal communication. This is how to help grieving a friend during the holidays. Be supportive and accepting regardless of what feelings they express. Be helpful in practical matters and offer specific ways you want to help, such as running errands, and we talked about that, preparing meals, addressing cards, wrapping packages. Be hopeful.
Yeah.
Talk more about that, being hopeful.
So hopeful is not ignoring your grief. It's
Yes.
not about saying now everything's gonna be okay and jolly. No. It's hopeful that tomorrow is gonna be a little bit lighter, that I'm gonna step a little bit forward in my grief, that I am accepting who am I at this point, that I am gonna create a new normal in my life,
Yes.
even if that's not what I wanted. That I'm gonna look inward and I'm gonna start digging what are the things that I want to do now that I never had the opportunity to do, or it wasn't my time, and now I have a different moment in my life that I could come up and say, okay, now I could do these projects, because life changes.
It does.
It does, and now you have a different identity. You will look for that identity, and you have the opportunity to build, you know, your identity from your own pain and talk about it with others. You know, we do have volunteers in hospice, and they help us with our groups, and they are there to share their experiences, right? Because I have not had a loss of a husband or a parent or a child. I have my experience with other people that are grieving and the understanding as of why, but I need someone in the room that has that experience that I can say to her, so tell me, how was it? So they understand
Yes.
that you survived, that you're here today.
Yes.
Tell me what was important for you, right? And these are things that we bring to the table into discussions during our support groups. So it's not about gossiping.
Right.
It's not about saying, oh, you can't do that, or look at you, you're supposed to be doing this or that. It's nothing about
Yeah.
that. I call the wisdom of the group because with them themselves, they empower themselves, they talk about their own stories, they normalize them, they feel that they have a group that they belong, you know, that they have others that understands them, so they don't feel so lonely and isolated.
Right.
So groups have their own magic. When
I
you
like
have-
that.
yes,
Groups have their
their
own
magic.
magic.
Yes. You know,
Wow.
they do, because, you know, those 3 weeks or 4 weeks that you spend with them, I hear people, they say, now I have a better understanding of my grief.
Yes.
Now I can allow myself to grieve and understand that I'm not doing anything wrong.
Right.
Right?
Yes.
And so they could give more self-compassion and be kind
I
to
like
themselves.
that.
And these are things that we teach, and people look at us like, what is that?
Yeah.
Right?
Self-compassion, to be kind to yourself.
Yeah.
Groups have their own
Magic.
magic.
Yeah.
Wisdom of the group.
Yes.
What is that? Wisdom
So
of the
wisdom
group.
of the group is when everybody is talking about different things, you know, what worked for me, what didn't work, and then all of a sudden you say, oh, I could try that. Or you say, all of a sudden can say, oh, I did that and that helped me. Or I did that, it didn't help. You know, so you share that with the group, and the group absorb that information, and they go back home with some empowerment that they could do this, you know, and that helps them by knowing that others, that they are doing it, that by knowing that others survive. That's why we have a volunteer, you know, to help them understand that you will survive this.
You will
It
survive.
doesn't feel like it,
But you
you
will
You
survive
will
this.
survive this.
You will
Yeah.
survive this. Okay, so we talked about the coping with the holiday checklist. There's a checklist that people could contact you
Yes.
at Pathways Center for Grief and Loss. It's here in Mount Joy on
Yeah.
Harrisburg Pike. I'll mention the number, 717-391-2413 or 800-924-7610. You could go on their website. And there is a checklist of
Yes.
what you want to do. It's your choice. You could look at it as holiday cards. You talked about if you don't want to send holiday cards, call them up or text them, or decorations and shopping and holiday music. You talked about the shopping. You could give cards. Everybody likes that. Holiday music. If you know that certain music, that's what I got to learn. Certain music is a trigger.
Yeah.
Then and especially traditions that we have a choice
Yes.
to change the traditions.
Yes.
Holiday dinners, they could go out to dinner. Somebody you invite friends over, but
Yes.
other people could do the cooking.
Yeah.
And if you
Yeah.
don't want to, it's okay.
Yeah.
Post holiday and New Year's Day, that if it has removed the decorations early, if that's what you want to do, go out of town.
Yeah.
That's a good thing also. We have here and we talked about with children, and you
Yes.
do have a pediatric department, so that's good. Um, so I think that pretty much hits everything. You have be helpful in practical matters and offer specific ways you want to help, such as running errands. Ask. You could be present. Ask them if you know your friend or whoever the person is that they're going to say no. Be observant and see what they need, and just do it and be present with them. If this person constantly says, no, I don't need any help, but you know that they do, you could just be present and just do it for them.
They just overwhelm. Sometimes
Yeah.
they don't even know what they need or want.
Yeah.
That's the other thing, you know. Sometimes it's just it takes some time for them to figure it out, you know, what would be
Yeah.
the right thing for them. So that's where you need to be patient because they're still trying to figure out the world without that person.
Yeah.
So it might take a little bit.
And when you say it takes a little bit, it's hard for anybody to determine what that little bit, that time span.
Yeah.
And so you just have to say it's okay.
It is.
Yeah,
That's
I
it.
don't think I've ever used that word so much within the last, I don't know, 3-4 years, saying it's okay. If I don't feel like doing those dishes, okay, it's okay.
Yeah.
I'm not going to
So-
beat myself up about it, but
so
it's
you see,
it's
just right
okay.
there is about self-compassion, and
Yes.
it's easier for us to extend self-compassion to others,
Yes.
but not to ourselves.
and not to
Okay.
ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, we see that like it's not appropriate. Like that's not. We should suffer. There's no reason why we need to suffer.
Yeah.
We don't. You know, in all this process, we have enough suffering. We don't have to impose more. You know, we just need to listen to ourselves, listen to our bodies, listen to what our needs are. You know, try to go, and there's going to be one day at a time. Sometimes, you know what, an hour at a time, a minute at a time, you know. Take it easy. You don't need to rush. You know, this is a time now that it's going to take whatever it takes, you know, for you to go through this process.
Yeah. Taking it
Yeah,
easy.
taking it easy.
Taking it easy. That's something that's not in our culture
Not
a lot
either.
because, you know, taking it easy.
It's not in our culture because we had people that say, okay, I came here to help you. Let me take the clothing out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, just right there.
Yeah.
You don't need that clothing there. You're just going to feel sad about it.
Yeah.
Let me just take the pictures out.
Yeah.
Okay? Set your boundaries. Okay? Set your boundaries even if they're loving people that come into your home and they really want to help you. But culturally, we always want to tell them what to do, how to do it, the best way to do it.
Yes.
We always have a recipe
Yes.
for something.
Yes.
So knowing that, right, about ourselves, about our culture, you know, set boundaries.
Yes.
And it might be the first time that you do it. But
Right.
you could say, hey, Mama, I don't need no help right now. Thank you.
Yes.
Right? I will let you know when. Right? Things like that. And I know it's hard. It's hard to do because it has been hard for me to understand the reasoning behind all this. But there's a reasoning because you need that space.
Yeah.
You need the space to grieve. And we want to rush through grief.
Yes.
And there's no rushing through.
There's no
Thi-
rushing.
No. This is the long run.
Yeah.
Okay? And that's what sometimes we feel so anxious about it because we want to be over it. And it's not about being over grief. It's about going through your grief.
I like
which
that.
is different.
Through, not over.
Not over.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's not about leaving them behind or getting over. I don't know, many other platitudes that people have out there.
Yeah.
It's really about going through your grief, and you're going to grow through your grief as well.
Yes. Yes. Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I am going to give you the last word. Is there something, anything else you could share? You just gave us, you gave us a lot of information.
There is a lot of information. And I
Yeah.
think that all this is because the spaces where we could have these conversations, they are limited. They are limited in our
They are.
community. They are limited in our churches. They are just limited.
Why is that?
Because we fear. We fear to talk about this. We don't want to be sad. We don't want to be telling others or others telling us. But this is not about that. This is about having conversations.
Yeah.
That I may die, how this is going to look for me, what other things are important to me, what other things are important to my children, thinking about these things through. You know, I tell people, when was the last time that you have a conversation or heard a conversation about death and dying? And yet nobody
Yeah.
has told me, yes, I spoke about that
Yeah.
last week.
Yeah.
No, until you're in it, until you are in the situation. And then you are in these situations where we are talking about we're going to beat it, we're going to get over, we're going to do all these things. But what when that does not happen? Then,
Yeah.
right? It feels like a failure, or is it feels like we are abandoned? So that's why we need to rethink about this, about death and dying, and fostering these relationships among women, because 63% of women in this country are caregivers, okay?
Wow.
So that means that we are going to be the one caring for our parents, caring for our children, caring for our spouses, okay?
Yes.
And who's going to be caring for us?
For us.
We have to do
Yes.
that too.
And I guess that percentage includes the sandwich generation.
Well, that's who we
Yeah,
are,
yeah.
the sandwich generation.
Yeah.
That's exactly who we are. Just people just like me, caring for my parents and caring for my children. Even when they are adults,
Yes.
they're with me. And my parents come with me probably 6 months of the year. Not last year because of COVID, but that was like the pattern, right? They will come with me, stay some time, and I would take care of them. And then they will go back, and, so that's how we divide things. But yeah, so we will be the one providing care. So that means that if we don't establish our boundaries and we say what other things are important to me and how am I going to do this, we are just going to be squished in, so we lose income. We lose our professions because we can't advance on them because we are out of them for years at a time,
Yeah.
caring for others.
Caring for
Okay?
others, yeah.
So this is something that we had to look into very seriously because it affects everything that we do on a daily basis.
Yes. Wow. That is like so good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate you. If there's anybody out there, if you want to inbox me, or if you know me, or text me, let me know if you want any of this information on ways to cope during the holidays, helping grieving children cope with the holidays, how to help grieving friend during the holidays, and even a checklist, coping with the holidays checklist. Or you could call the Pathways Center for Grief and Loss and ask them for the information. They could email you the same way that they emailed me. This is really, really good information. I pray that all of you were blessed by this. Our goal always is to encourage and to inspire and to empower. That you have this information. I pray that you take it and share it with someone else. And also, if you're locally, Deborah Gonzalez is right here. In Better Times, invite her to your church, to your different organizations. I met her by going to a bereavement class at Pathways. If that is you right now, are those classes still going on?
We do.
You do them in person or on Zoom?
Well, right now the one in December is going to be via Zoom, and it's December the 7th, the 14th, and 21st, and it's going to be 6:30 to 8:30. So you need to go and register, so that way you could gain access. These are free of charge. Our services are free of charge, thanks to the community, and for their donations. So, so I welcome. If you're grieving out there, you don't have to do this by yourself.
Yes.
This is a class for newly bereaved. So if you're in the first 3-4 months of your grieving process, give us a call. If you need support, we are here to support you.
Yes, and that's exactly what I did. I went to that newly grieved class. I really had to push myself because culturally that is not something that I would do. But I knew that there was heaviness and that my body did not feel well. So, I forced myself. And I'm glad I did because I met you and other people that I met in the group too. But next week, we have No Reset with Reverend Sherry on TCP Network. It is Thanksgiving, and we are going to honor God by giving thanks to everything that He has done. We're going to, if that's your choice, being with family and friends, but most of all, please take care of yourself during these holidays. You heard what Deborah Gonzalez said. You have a choice, and it's okay. Set boundaries. Take care of yourself. Know what your body is saying, and it will be okay. So until we see you again in December, God bless. Please be safe and take care of yourself. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I think I did it. Stop live. I stopped broadcasting.
Good.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah.
I was trying to look down. I'm not really good with that, looking down to see what their
yeah,
response is.
comments.
And I was trying to do that. There was some responses going on with COVID and children.
But I could get back and just like answer them.
Yeah.
Their threat.
Because they were asking a question about empathy. A child has empathy until they're 5 years old. I mean, by the age of 5, and I'm like, okay, I'm not getting in that conversation. Yeah, that I was like, okay, I don't know the answer for that. Let me wash my hands. That little girl, my granddaughter, Shiloh. I'm going to tell your dad. Because you know better. You're here all the time with him. You're here all the time with him, and you know better than doing all that screaming. What's your purpose? You wanted to play on my phone. How would you play on my phone and we have that there? Huh? Is it?